Okay, so let's talk about vertical motion, free fall, ano. So, free fall is the downward motion of objects under the influence of gravity. Okay? So, kagaya ng mga ini-explain ko in our previous discussion, ano. So, in free fall class, yung acceleration natin will become acceleration due to gravity, which is constant. Okay? Constant. And what's the value of it? 9.8 meter per second squared. Okay? And yung S natin, which is displacement, this time, it will become H. Okay? Which refer to the vertical height. Ayan. So, in free fall, A becomes G, which is constant, and S becomes H, the vertical height. Okay? So, therefore, yung general equation of motion natin, yung general equation of motion, which is S is equal to V1 times time plus ET squared over 2, will now become H is equal to V1 times time plus GT squared over 2. Okay? So, this will be our equation for free fall, which is yung pa din naman yun, general equation, na bago lang yung mga symbol, of course. Okay? So, for this discussion, hatiin natin ito sa dalawa. So, yung una, case 1. Case 1, object released from a certain height H. Okay? Object released from a certain height H accelerates downward until it strikes the ground. Ayan. So, this will be our case 1. So, paano yon? If we will draw a free body diagram, so let's say, for example, an object is a ball. Ano? So, drop from a certain height H. Accelerates downward before it strikes the ground. Okay? So, ito yung height niya. Magta-travel siya for a certain period of time. And this object will move downward because of the influence of gravity. So, when you release an object from a certain height, syempre, yung initial velocity niya is equal to 0. Okay? Then, right before it strikes the ground, it will have a final velocity, V2. So, ito yung mga quantities na pwede nating hanapin. Right? So, time, how long it will stay in the air. Height, gaano kataas yung pinagbagsakan niya. And then, final velocity. Yung velocity niya, how fast it is moving right before it strikes the ground. Okay? So yun yung mga quantities na pwede nating masolve. So t is time in seconds, of course. H is height in meter. V2 is your final velocity in meter per second. And of course, G is your acceleration due to gravity, which is constant. Constant 9.8 meter per second squared. Okay? So, ito yung case 1 natin. So, how will we solve the height from which the object was released? So, yung height mo, since v1 is 0, since 0 itong initial velocity natin, then cancel na yung v1 times time. Your height now will become gt squared over 2. Okay? So this will be our first equation. So how will you get the height? You multiply the gravity, 9.8, to time, and then you divide it by 2. Time to the power of 2, and then you divide it by 2. Okay? Then, gamit itong equation na ito, i-derive mo naman yung time. Well, syempre, you cross multiply, divide both equation, derivation sa algebra ninyo. So, time is equal to square root of 2h over g. Okay? So, how long will it stay in the air? Iyan yung gagamitin yung equation. Gaya ng sabi ko sa inyo during the last lecture video, yung mga equations na gagamitin natin, maglalaro lang naman yan sa general equation of motion. Okay? How about final velocity? So, V2, kagaya ng equation natin last time, V2 is equal to V1 plus 80, di ba? Yung pag dinerive mo from the equation of acceleration. So, A is equal to V2 minus V1 over time. So, pag dinerive mo yan, V2 is equal to V1 is 0. So, GT na lang yan matitira. Our equation for final velocity. Ayan. Okay, so, what else? One thing about this free fall is this, kung mapansin nyo, yung mga equations natin, wala namang involved na mass. So, meron ba kayong nakita dyan na symbol for mass? Symbol for mass? May mass M ba kayong nakita dyan? In kilogram, let's say. Meron ba to? Syempre, wala naman yan. Okay ba yun? So, since walang mass dyan, ibig sabihin, walang bearing yung mass kung gaano man siya katagal or kabilis babagsak. Whether it is heavy or light, all object will accelerate at this rate. Okay? So, pag naglagay ka dito ng ball, you drop it from a certain height. Let's say, you drop it from 10 meters. Right? And then at the same time, you drop a piece of stone. Okay? Syempre, you have a ball, say a ping pong ball. This is a stone, no? Provided that there is no air resistance, so both the object, the ball and the stone, will strike the ground at exactly the same time. Why is that? Because gravity will both accelerate the object at the rate of 9.8 meter per second squared every second, right? So mass does not matter. Yung time nila pareho in the air will be determined by only by height, okay, and by gravity. Syempre, mas mataas mo yan ilaglag, it will stay in the air much longer kesa sa dinrap mo siya close to the ground. Okay ba yun? Syempre, pag malakas ang gravity, like for example in other planets, mas mabilis yung acceleration downward. Mas mabilis yung time in the air nila. Mag-drop ka ng object sa moon wherein there is no atmosphere, wherein the gravity is very weak, 1/6 than that of the earth. Then it will take longer for it to fall doon sa surface ng moon because of weak gravity. Okay ba yun? Basta na nag-gets nyo yun, ha? Alright, so let's have a sample problem. Okay, so sample. Okay, so sample problem number 1. Say a wild boar jump up. Wild boar jumps up from the top of a burning building 100 meter high. Find the following. Letter A, how long will it stay in the air? How long will it stay in the air? And letter B, what is its final velocity before it hits the ground? Okay, so again, as usual, you have to write the given formula and the solution. Okay, so what are the given? Well, syempre, you have the height, 100 meter. Imaginary given, 9.8 to. What else? Meron pa ba? Wala na, no? Then how long will it stay in the air? Siyempre, time is question mark. And V2, final velocity. So question mark. Right? So, pag may given ka na, you can easily see the missing o yung hinahanap, the required. And you know the formula for time, gaya ng sabi ko kanina, square root of 2h over g. And you know the formula for velocity, final velocity, v1 is 0 because it starts from rest. Lagyan na rin natin. Then v2 is equal to v1 plus 80 or gt. So v2 is equal to gt. Okay, so for the solution, time is equal to square root of 2 multiplied by 100 divided by 9.8. Bigyan natin ng unit. 100 meter 100 meter divide by 9.8 meter per second squared. So T is equal to 2 times 100 is 200 divide by 9.8. 100 meter times 9.8 meter per second squared. And what's the answer? So calculator. Square root. Wala pa yatang square root dito. Divide by 9.8 20. So square root of 20, ayun, meron pala 4.51. 4.51 ano ba? 4.52. Round up natin. Okay, so 4.52 seconds. How long will it stay in the air? 4.52 seconds. Okay. How about for final velocity? Is equal to 9.8. So since meron ka ng time, then you can easily solve the final velocity. And V2, final velocity is equal to 9.8 times 4.52 times 9.8. 44.27 meter per second. Okay. So when it jumps off from the top of the burning building, it will stay in the air for around 4.52 seconds before it strikes the ground with a final velocity of 44.27 meter per second. Okay? So what's the idea here? So 44 meter per second is really fast. Sobrang bilis nito. Kasi yung 60 km per hour, which is usually the speed limit, 60 km per hour is around 21 meter per second. Ito 44 meter per second, siguro this would be around 150 km per hour. So sobrang bilis niyan, di ba? The wild boar will not survive the fall. Okay, so how about for case 2? Object thrown vertically upward. Okay? So paano ang free diagram nito? You have a ball. Say yan. You give it an initial velocity, you throw it upward. Syempre, its velocity will decrease until it comes to rest at this point. Syempre, again, gaya na sabi ko before, dito sa tuktok, at rest siya. At rest in a very short period of time, about a fraction of a second. So, hindi mo na ma-observe yun. Okay, so reaches the highest point, and for a fraction of a second, stays at rest, and then what? And then goes back to the ground. So, it started with small velocity from rest. Velocity was changing. Pabilis ng pabilis. Accelerating. Until it reaches the ground. Right? So, what are the quantities that we can use to describe this certain type of motion? In this case too. So, you have initial velocity, it's not zero, so it's non-zero. You have final velocity sa tuktok, which is zero, ano? And then we'll have this small t as half time of light. So isang pataas and another small t here, pababa. So half time of light. So you have total time in the air, capital T, which is equal to twice the small t. Okay ba yun? Okay, so yung half time of light, of course, is the time it takes for this object to reach the highest point. Tapos ito namang another half time of light is the time for this object to return back to the ground. Okay? Kaya naman yung total time in the air niya is again twice lang ng half time of light. Okay? Which makes sense, syempre. Well, syempre, yung time it takes for this object to move up, same lang din naman yun ng time it takes for this object to return to the ground. Okay ba yun? So, yung time pataas is actually equal sa time pababa. Okay, so this is a bit non-intuitive, ano? Kasi pag tinanong mo yung iba, tanongin mo sila, alin yung mas mabilis pag nag-throw ka ng object upward? Yung pataas ba? Yung pataas ba? Same object or yung pababa? And some of them will answer, mas mabilis daw yung pababa kesa sa mas mabilis daw yung pababa kesa sa pataas. Okay? So again, that's not the case, ano? Kasi it is an experimental fact na yung time it takes for an object to move up hanggang sa highest point is exactly the same, equal for the time it takes for this object to return to the ground. Parehas lang yun. Okay? Alright, so going back to this, ano pa yung ibang quantities na pwede natin gamitin in order for us to describe this? So, syempre, yung height, h. Height after a certain time, gawin natin small h yun. Okay? Well, ito namang highest point, let's make this capital H. Highest point. Okay, so, what else? Gravity, syempre, constant yan, 9.8. Alright, so again, ano yung mga variables na yan, yung mga quantities na yan? T is your total time in the air. Small t is your half time of light. V1 is your initial velocity. V2 is your final velocity. H is your height after some time t, while capital H is your height of the highest point. Well, G, syempre 9.8. What else? V1, V2 time, capital T, small h, capital H. Okay, so I think that's it, ano? Yan lang naman yun eh. So, what are the equations? For time, syempre, kagaya ng nasulat ko dito, twice the small t. Okay? V1 is equal to GT. H after certain time t is equal to general equation of motion. V1 time plus GT squared over 2. Height of the highest point. I will introduce you with another equation, ano. So nakuha ko to from potential kinetic energy theorem. Okay, which we will discuss soon. Height will be equal to v squared over 2g. Okay, so bago tong equation na ito. But the rest of the equations, sa general equation of motion yun galing. What else? Yung small t, syempre, ay di since ito ay gt, ay di pag dinerive mo dyan, then t is equal to v1 over g. Okay, so yun yung mga equations na gagamitin natin. Sample problem number 2. Okay, sample problem number 2. A bullet is fired from the ground vertically upward, so pataas. Baka siya, warning shot, and return to the ground 20 seconds afterwards. And return to the ground 20 seconds afterwards. Find the following. Letter A, the initial velocity. B1. Letter B, highest point reach. Letter C, where is the bullet? Where is the bullet? Say 5 seconds after it was fired. Ayan. So, syempre, given formula and solution. Okay? So, the initial velocity v1. What are the given pala? So, the given are the following. So, syempre, you have time. Total time in the air. Capital T. 20 seconds. Because if you will analyze the problem, the bullet daw is fired from the ground vertically upward and returned after 20 seconds. So, ibig sabihin, it took 10 seconds for the bullet to reach the highest point and another 10 seconds for the bullet to travel from the highest point back to the ground. So, half time of flight mo, small t, would be 10 seconds. So, 10 pataas, 10 pababa. So, kung ito yung bullet mo, okay, so ito yung ground mo. Siyempre, it has initial velocity v1, slows down, reach a highest point, and then goes back to the ground. Okay, so we are looking for the height of the highest point. Okay, highest point H. So we're looking for the highest point H, height after 5 seconds, v1, and ayun lang pala, v1, height after 5 seconds, and then highest point h. Okay, so v1, height after 5 seconds, highest point h. Okay, so oh, this is the thing about physics class, ano. So kahit isang given lang, 20 seconds, pwede mo nang i-describe yung path ng bullet, path taken by the bullet. Alright? So gravity, which is imaginary given 9.8 meter per second squared. What else? V2 is equal to 0. V1 is question mark. Small h is question mark. Capital H is question mark. Okay? What else? Wala na. What are the equations? Kagaya ng sabi ko kanina, V1 is equal to GT, small t. Okay? Height after certain time is equal to V1 times time plus or minus. Anong gagamitin natin? So, pag may V ka na, you can now easily get H. B squared lang yan over twice the gravity. Right? And then H is equal to general equation of motion, B1 times time plus GT squared over 2. Okay. I want you to understand that gravity is negative. Okay, so where is the object 5 seconds after it was fired? So 5 seconds after it was fired, although the motion is in this direction, pero ito ay decreasing velocity. So ibig sabihin, kahit papataas yung motion, yung gravity mo ay downward direction. Okay, so negative yung G mo diyan, 9.8, negative 9.8. So for solution, V1 is equal to gravity, which is 9.8 meter per second squared multiplied by the half time of light, 10 seconds. Then V1 is equal to 98 meter per second. Okay, so this box our final answer. Right? So height of the highest point is equal to V squared, which is 98 meter per second divided by twice the gravity. So 2 times 9.8 is 19.6 meter per second squared. Okay, so height is equal to 98 multiplied by itself, 9604 meter squared per second squared divided by 19.6 meter per second squared. So H is divided by 19.6, 490 meter, of course. Okay, so for letter C, where is the object 5 seconds after it was fired? Okay, so i-drawing ulit natin yung free body diagram, ano? So ito yung bullet natin. We already solved the highest point, which is around 490 meter. We also solved the initial velocity, which is 98 meter per second. Okay, we established that the total time is 20 seconds, so 10 seconds for the half time of light, then another 10 seconds naman para siya makababa back to the ground. Okay, so the question for letter C is this, where's the object 5 seconds after it was fired? Do we really have to solve this? Kasi pwede ba nating i-assume na after 5 seconds, probably the bullet is midway the 490 meter. Midway between the 10 seconds half time of light. Okay? Kasi it makes sense, ano? Parang, kasi after 10 seconds, the object already reached the 490 meter after 10 seconds. So, probably, after 5 seconds, probably, nandito siya sa pinaka gitna, no? Okay? So, and what is the midway, ano, of 490 meters? So, 490 divided by 2. And that is around 245 meter. So, pwede ba nating i-assume yan? That after 5 seconds, probably, nandito siya. 5 seconds after it was fired. Kasi 10 seconds, nasa 490 siya eh. So, 5 seconds, probably, nasa 245 meters siya. Let's see. Our equation for small h, or height after a certain time t, is equal to v1 times time plus gt squared over 2. Sabi ko kanina, gravity is negative because it's slowing down and gravity acts towards the ground. So h is equal to 98 meter per second multiplied by 5 seconds plus negative 9.8 meter per second squared multiplied by 5 squared divided by 2. So h is 98 times 5. Ano yung calculator natin? So you have 98 times 5 is 490 minus 9.8 times 25 divided by 2 minus 9.8 times 25 divided by 2, 122.5. So h is equal to 367.5 meters. Okay, so ang ating expected na position ng bullet after 5 seconds would be the midway ng 490, which is 245. But the answer is 367.5, which is nasaan siya? Almost nasa top, dito banda siguro. Diyan siguro banda. So after 5 seconds, the bullet is already near the top, 367.5 meter. Okay, so why is that? Paano nyo may explain to? Okay, so I want you to think about this. Okay ba yun? Na dapat after 5 seconds nandito siya sa gitna, pero based on our computation, after 5 seconds nandun na siya kaagad sa almost near the top of its trajectory, 490, which is 367.5 meters. Okay, So, think about it. Okay? O, sana naintindihan nyo,